Hey, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Mm, hot coffee, hot coffee. Anyway, welcome to the show. It's October 28th, 2024. A week and a day, and it's going to be election day. How about that? It's happening quicker than we like to think. Anyway, my name's Tom Coffey. We're at Coffee and Nuance. Be sure to follow us over there on Rumble, rumble.com/coffee nuance/live. We're on Rumble. No see, no hear. Okay. Uh, hmm. Hmm. Well, let me know. Okay, just let me know if you can see me or hear me. A little frustrating. I will open up another window and let's just see, shall we? Okay, all right. This is technology, everyone. Okay, block. I don't want that. View my channel. Not allowed. Okay, let's see. View my channel. Oh, you're making some coffee now? Okay, that's cool. Let's just see. Let's just see. Yeah, I can see me and I can hear me. So, not sure what to say. Okay. We'll just stop that and we'll get to it. Anyway, we're good to go. And be sure to follow us over there on Rumble. Oh my goodness, look at that. I changed it to 316. Let's see. Nope. Oh my goodness. None of these are working. This is what happens when you have a corrupted files. Yeah, we got 316 Rumble followers right now. We're on the road to 420. You can see the graphic right here. Highway 420 for the meme. Let's do it, everybody. Anyway, I know we want to talk about MSG, Madison Square Garden, Trump, the big rally over the weekend. I will get to that in a few. But the main topic that I wanted to bring up today is about a Rose Revolution 2.0. That's in the Republic of Georgia. And you may say to yourself, Tom, why am I tuning into this? I don't care about this. And I understand. I got to make videos that interest me. And you're probably not going to hear a single person talk about this today. So I just wanted to throw it out. So when I make a prediction on what's going to happen in the next couple of months, and then that thing happens, you can look back and say, wow, I didn't even hear about this before Tom told me about it, and it ended up being exactly like he said. So that's where I'm coming from. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. You're working no intro music, but the rest seem good for now. How can I have no freaking intro music? Okay, well, we'll work on it. Anyway, I'll play up the little intro screen, and maybe there's music, maybe there's not. And I'll tell you all about the Rose Revolution 2.0. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. Rose Revolution 2.0. Oh, man. All right, folks. We got another revolution bubbling up in Georgia. No, not our Georgia with sweet tea and SEC football. No, we're talking about the Georgia in the Caucasus, the Republic of Georgia. And you know, when we hear the words pro-democracy protest and Georgia in the same sentence, it's a good time to double check who's organizing the bake sale. That's right. Because let's be real, when revolutions start blooming in former Soviet states, it usually means someone here in the US is watering those roses. Now, some of you may remember the first Rose Revolution back in 2003. Probably not. I get it. We had Georgians flooding the streets, holding roses like a Valentine's Day parade or something for democracy, putting out an old corrupt leader. And guess what? U.S. support was all over it. NGOs, media training, and all the cozy guidance you could ask for. Because America has this thing about planting democracy in countries that border Russia. And it never seems to be entirely out of the goodness of our own hearts. Well, today, we're looking at round 2, a potential second Rose Revolution. But this time around, it's not Georgia's people just waking up one day and saying, hey, you know what we really need? Western-style democracy and a NATO flag. No. This is a CIA playbook written all over it, with hits like Democracy Assistance Program and media training for activists. Yeah. So what's happening? Georgia's got a party in power called Georgian Dream, which I know sounds like a travel company, but it's run by a billionaire with deep ties to Moscow. Now, there's this big push from protesters saying they want more freedom, less corruption, and a future that looks like the EU. And who's right there ready to lend a hand? Well, it's our favorite friends in U.S. intelligence, of course. Let's break it down. When you see these so-called organic uprisings against authoritarian-leaning governments with ties to Russia, it's less often Georgians are suddenly wanting to be part of NATO. It's more like U.S. intelligence is rubbing their hands thinking, now's our big chance. Look at the pattern. These color revolutions are like franchised protests, funded and coordinated with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. Just add a catchy color or a flower, little anti-Russia branding, and voila, instant revolution. And here's the best part. We'll deny it. Every time we'll say, oh, no. We were just supporting democracy. And all we did was send a few pamphlets and maybe a few strategic consultants on the side, maybe perhaps a couple $1 billion. Now, if we're being honest, the U.S. has been a pretty efficient democracy planting kit over the years. Here's how it goes. Step 1, identify a country with a leader with Russian ties. Step 2, make sure the people are a little frustrated. Economic strain, maybe some public anger over corruption. You get the picture. Step 3, send in the NGOs, non-governmental organizations. You'd be surprised how many of these independent organizations are suddenly passionate about democracy when there's U.S. aid grant involved. Step 4, let the influencers loose. Social media, viral hashtags, maybe a TikTok protest dance. Revolution brought to you by the insiders in D.C. So, here we are, watching as Georgia starts round 2. The whole thing looks designed to give Putin a headache and keep Georgia in our friend zone, a zone that coincidentally runs on anti-Russian sentiment. And we'll call it a win if Georgia shakes off Russia's influence. But here's the reality. If this second Rose Revolution actually kicks off, the U.S. gets the foothold it always wanted. Russia gets the message loud and clear. We're planting flags. And for the people of Georgia, well, they're just hoping to get left with more than U.S. branded democracy t-shirts and a pile of debt when the dust settles. So, if this is the way we're going to go about it, let's call it what it is. Foreign policy disguised as grassroots activism, because you can paint it any color you want, put a rose on it, call it people power, but at the end of the day, it's just Washington growing a garden it wants to control. My name's Tom Coffey. This is the Coffey Nuance Show, the most ignored, censored commentary news show live right now. Flame on. Okay, so this is what we're calling it. We're calling it the Rose Revolution 2.0. And why 2.0? It's because there was a Rose Revolution, the original, the OG in color revolutions. You may not know about this because, frankly, nobody knows about this stuff. So I thought I would share it with you. So when these things happen, you can look back and say, oh, yeah, I remember hearing something about that. So the Rose Revolution, it was a pro-democracy movement that took place in the country of Georgia right, which was an old used to be part of the Soviet Union, in late 2003. And this revolution led to the resignation of then President, let's see if I can get his name right, Edward Shevardnadze, who'd been in power since the early 90s, and brought a reformist leader, Mikhail Saakashvili, to power. And it was named the Rose Revolution because during protests, demonstrators held roses, like in the little graphic here, to symbolize their nonviolent approach to demanding change. So here's what happened. Okay, just making sure it's working. Okay, good. We're rolling. So the background, Shevardnadze's administration had been seen as increasingly corrupt. Maybe that was because the U.S. was pushing money into Georgia to promote those narratives. But okay, whatever. Anyway, the idea was that the government was becoming disconnected from the people of Georgia, was not as relatable as it could have been. The economy sucked, right? And there was lots of allegations of corruption, which is pretty much like every country, right? I mean, we have that here too. Anyway, tensions built up over years with increasing dissatisfaction of the people there, probably because we were pumping in a lot of propaganda to say that exact thing, but maybe that was also true, or maybe both, right? Anyway, the spark, what set this whole thing off was we had an election, and it was November 2003, and they had these parliamentary elections, and there were claims of voter fraud, electoral fraud, and international observers, and opposition leaders claimed that the whole thing was rigged to ensure a win for Shevardnadze's party, and this was just a blatant attempt to suppress democracy. Okay, so that's how this whole thing started off. Now, why am I bringing this up today? Well, it's because the exact same thing is happening. Yesterday, there was an election had landslide results, and there were allegations of voter rigging there. Irregular. So the official preliminary results gave the ruling party, Georgian Dream, that's the party that sides more with Russia than with the West, an outright majority of 54%. Okay. And so what are they doing? They're saying, oh, this was fake, right? This was rigged. And that is the start of when you have a color revolution. You start it by calling out the elections as being fraudulent. And now that you understand that that's the start of things, you understand why it's so important that no one makes that claim in this country, because that's how these things happen, right? So anyway, the protest started in 2003, and it looks like the same thing is happening right now in 2024. It looks like there's going to be protests, and it's going to follow the exact same pattern of when, in my opinion, our intelligence agencies were pushing this revolution 21 years ago, and the exact same thing is happening today. So what happened is we got they were able to overturn the government, get someone that more aligned with NATO and the United States. But since then, they'd had more elections and they lost, right? And now the ruling party sides more with Russia. And so maybe we'll have a Rose Revolution 2.0. I'm naming it that. As far as I can tell, I haven't been able to find anyone online that's named it that. So who knows? Maybe I'm coining this, but it's not terribly original, though, is it? Anyway, so what else is happening today? Well, The pro-Western candidate, um, Zorabishvili, uh, Zorabishvili, he's condemned it as a total falsification, fake news. This election's totally rigged. So because of that, Europe and U.S. have backed calls for an independent investigation. In fact, a U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken urged Georgian leaders to respect the rule of law and have an investigation about this. Now, the prime minister insisted that out of 3,111 polling stations, there were incidents in just a couple of precincts, but that all in all, the environment was completely peaceful. Georgian Dream, known as GD, has become increasingly authoritarian, says the people that don't like them, right? And we've seen this exact same rhetoric they've used against Trump. And, well, frankly, anyone that doesn't go along with the Washington establishment, right? They're all increasingly authoritarian, right? We don't need evidence for that. We can just make that claim. So anyway, that is what is happening today over there in Georgia. The parliamentary election, the results are just incredible because Georgian Dream, right, the so-called, the authoritarian, the more Russian-aligned group got about 54% of the vote. The next group got 11%. The Coalition for Change got 11%. Unity got about 10%. Strong Georgia Party got 8.8%. And For Georgia got 7.7% of the vote. So it was overwhelmingly for this one thing. But what they're doing is they're calling that it is nonsense. And that's the start of the color revolution. Now, on Friday, I talked about, could a color revolution happen here in the U.S.? And I tried to explain what it was. Just kind of looking back on what happened 21 years ago, if you see these exact same things happen again, it's probably for the exact same reasons. Okay, so when the protest began, the response was tens of thousands of Georgians, led by the opposition leaders, took to the streets, and the protests reached a peak in late November. We had demonstrations outside of the Parliament building. Okay, and famously, they were calling this the Rose Revolution because they all held a rose as a symbol of peaceful protests. And what you do in a color revolution, how this works, is you demonstrate peacefully. You have some people go a little bit too far, and you try to get a reaction from the sitting government, from the police. And then when the police respond, now you can film that and say, look, we're having a peaceful protest, and look what the cops are doing. Look what the military is doing. They're going overboard. We're peaceful. Why are we peaceful? Because we have a rose, right? We have a rose, so therefore we're peaceful. It's kind of like how, you just name something, and that's what it is, right? The Innocence Project, well, they're a project that takes care of innocent people, right? They certainly wouldn't take the case of somebody that was guilty. Innocence is in their name. Do you fall for that nonsense? Well, in the same way, that's what they're doing here. They're using the rose as a symbol of peace and saying, see, we're peaceful. And look how evil the government is, and look what they're doing to us, the peaceful ones, with the roses. It's kind of like the Antifa rioters. They say, no, we're anti-fascist. So if you're against us, you're fascist. It's just word games, right? But that's what they're doing. And it doesn't mean that the people that have been brought into the protest, they may actually believe what they're doing, right? So the Georgians that are protesting and holding the roses, they may believe in the cause, but they may not be aware of where all the funding for this came from, where all of the branding from this came from, where all of the organizers of these protests, who's paying them, right? If they were to know that the money has been funneled to these local organizations from the U.S. State Department, they might have a different opinion on that, right? So anyway, that is what's happening in the streets of Tbilisi right now. This is what happened 21 years ago. The idea is just to keep raising the pressure, put a lot of public pressure to maybe have another election, something like that. The protests will become increasingly more violent, and they'll use social media to kind of edit what's happening and portray the current people in charge as being, this authoritarian regime that needs to be overthrown. And then you'll see international players come in and condemn those Georgian leaders and just keep building up pressure. So that's how you bring about a color revolution. That's kind of what I see. This may be the start of it in Georgia, but I hope not, right? And I hope for peace for everyone. But sometimes I can recognize patterns, and this pattern looks very similar to what happened 21 years ago. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. Now, that's all I have to say about the Rose Revolution 2.0. In the after show, I'll go through all of your comments. I can actually get them on the screen today. And I'll talk about Trump's big Madison Square Garden event and the different reactions to that. But anyway, that's all I have for you today on Rose Revolution 2.0. I'll see you in the after show. Peace. Oh, you're kidding. Hang on a second. Well, I guess I can't get I can't get them on the screen. Yeah, I had another crash here. Oh well. What's up, John? What's up, Lucid Moments? Natasha, nice to see everybody. Let's see. No intro music today. Yeah, I'm not sure what I don't know. I'm still working on getting out the kinks in this. So what are you gonna do? Right? What are you gonna do? Anyway, I'll just put this. Here we go. Okay. Natasha says, I was just watching the rally at MSG. Just finished with Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, I watched it. I didn't watch the whole thing. It was very long. And I actually fell asleep when Trump was talking. Boy, does he know how to weave a tale. It was just really long. But that was okay. I found him very relatable. I thought RFK did great. Tucker, Tulsi, just a whole slew. Hulk Hogan was just surreal. It's like closer and closer to living in Idiocracy with Hulk Hogan there, and he had his Trump Vance shirt, to rip off. But it was interesting how this entire thing was portrayed. I saw MSNBC was covering it, and they were linking it back to some neo-Nazi rally from 85 years ago or something, which sounds insane because Madison Square Garden is one of the most famous venues in the world. And, you had one event there 85 years ago, some neo-Nazis, and somehow you're going to tie that into what's happening today. That's nuts. And that's not news. That's propaganda, right? Madison Square Garden is used, I would say, just about every day of the year for an event, right? Concerts are there constantly. Um, uh, Big shows are at Madison Square Garden all the time. Famously, I think wasn't there a WrestleMania at Madison Square Garden? Uh, Billy Joel did Madison Square Garden, what, like 30 days in a row or something? Uh, so the fact that MSNBC is talking about this as some kind of throwback to a neo-Nazi rally is pure propaganda, and it really saddens me that there are people that watch that network that actually believe anything that they say, because it's insane. It's absolutely insane. I thought Trump did a nice job speaking. I don't like it when he rambles and goes on and on and on and on. I wish he would edit himself a little bit, but that's for me. Right? For me, I would like a little less of that. They're talking about the comedian Tony Hinchcliffe may have said some things that were a little too edgy and frankly not that funny. But who cares? Who cares? You got a big list of people there. Someone's going to go off script a little bit. It is what it is. But I did like the coalition of people that spoke at the MSG rally. And I thought it was, overall, the tone of it, I thought was very positive. For the most part, it seemed like, yes, we can do this. We can make the country better. Good times are ahead. Kind of good vibes all around. Was, if you were to look at the several hour event, overall, I would say it was a kind of a pro good vibes thing. And then I saw, the nightly news when they're talking about it, and they, oh, what happened there? The reporter that was reporting on it, and I think this was on NBC, said they've already referred to Kamala Harris as the devil. So it's very divisive rhetoric from Madison Square Garden. And again, that's just such a misrepresentation of what was going on there. Isn't it fun when you can see the BS? Isn't it fun when you can detect what's an absolute lie and what's absolute propaganda? I'm very glad that now I'm able to see some of that. I'm able to identify it when it happens. I didn't used to be able to identify it. For most of my life, I just bought everything that the media told me, the corporate media told me. But I think now I'm able to see the BS. I'm able to see the propaganda, and I think it's great. And it saddens me, all the people that cannot identify it yet. But I'm saying yet because they will. Eventually, they'll figure this out. Let's see, what else? Natasha, I might be coming to buy a car in Texas in January and fly back. Okay, well, there you go. That might be a good place to buy a car. If you are going to buy a car, buying a car that's been in the desert is much better than buying a car that's been in a place where it's very, very wet. Right? You're not going to have a lot of rust damage on a car that's been in the desert. In fact, I may have a car that I got that was in Arizona for most of its life, which is a good thing because it's quite old. Let's see. The Joe Rogan Experience appearance really showed me he's good on his feet speaking to people. Yeah, I thought the Joe Rogan interview was great. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I think I watched about the first half hour or so. And yeah, I thought it was really well done. It's too bad that Kamala is not able to do those kinds of interviews because, frankly, that's kind of what we want to see. We want to see who she is, who really is her, because who really is she? Because a lot of times when we see her, she just doesn't seem authentic and you don't really know who's behind it. We know the person you're presenting yourself as, but we'd kind of like to know who you really are. And if someone were able to sit down and chat with Joe Rogan for a couple hours, think Trump did like 3 hours. Um, that would be a way to be more relatable and at least have people understand a little bit more about you personally. But I don't think she's going to do that. Um, so whatever. Haven't other presidential candidates spoken at Madison Square Garden? Um, Mainstream media is just our word or slow. They're very, very mentally slow, shall we say. Well, I believe Bill Clinton accepted the nomination at Madison Square Garden. I think that's what he I think that's I'm probably remembering that wrong, but I believe that Bill Clinton um had a big event at Madison Square Garden. Yeah, like I say, this whole ties to Nazis is just screams desperation. It's so desperate um, that I'm calling it. I'm calling the election right now. It's over, right? Um, I believe that it will be a landslide. I really do think that Trump will have the popular vote, um, and win the election and have the popular vote. I do think that it is important for it not to be close, because if it's close, then that's when things get crazy, like what's happening in Georgia today, even though it wasn't even close there. Um, see, propagandar, new term. You should do a show on it, Tom. Propagandar. I'm not sure I got what that meant. Propagandar. Huh. What got Clinton elected was playing the saxophone on TV. Well, there's a lot of revisionist history on everything. Honestly, what got Clinton elected was that Ross Perot was in the race and he pulled 19% of the vote and probably pulled more from Republicans than from Democrats. That's how Clinton won. So when you look at the numbers, you know, Clinton won with, I don't know. Did he even have 40% of the vote? I'm not sure he had 40% of the vote, but he won the presidency with kind of, I think, the least percent of votes, at least in my lifetime. But that was mainly because Ross Perot, third-party candidate, got nearly 20%. So I would say that's the main thing. But he did look cool, right? Clinton did seem like a cool guy, and that doesn't hurt, right? Oh, like gaydar. It's radar for detecting. Propagandar. Oh, I actually like that. That's a fun term. Propagandar. How is your propagandar? That's your ability to see propaganda. I like that. Love it. Love it. That's a great thing. Ross Perot had all his charts and everybody was laughing at him. And then years later, he was found out to be exactly right, especially with NAFTA, according to Lucid. I remember his charts and he was right on. And I guess I'll just share now. I supported Ross Perot back then and I thought that he was correct. And I wasn't laughing at him at the time either. I thought that he was absolutely correct. And I was living in New Mexico at the time, and I was very concerned about the things that he was bringing up. And in hindsight, he was 100% correct on most of the things that he talked about. So there you go. Anyway, look, I know that you all may not really care about the Republic of Georgia and what's happening over there and the color revolutions and things like that. I get it. I saw this. It was interesting to me. And I just wanted to put it out there because I don't think anybody else is going to put it out there. No one else is going to talk about this. And so I just kind of felt compelled to do that today. I'll be back on Wednesday talking about the countdown to the election, some things that are going on. I just saw today they've been burning drop boxes, election drop boxes here in Portland and in Vancouver, Washington. And what we have here is we have, they look like big outdoor, where you just drop off your mail, but they're specifically designed just for your ballot. And someone went there and, threw some accelerant in, some explosives in, and burned the whole thing up. So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I just saw that prior to going live today. So I'll look into that, maybe do a report on that, check out what is happening with 1 week left in the election. But anyway, that's all I have right now. But I'm calling it today. Trump's got this. He's got this. And I predict at least 6 of the 7 swing states and popular vote. Anyway, hope you all have a beautiful day. I will be back on Wednesday, and I'll break this down. I'll try it again. If you happen to see me going live like tonight or something, I'm just going to be testing the streaming equipment to see if I can get the music working again, and maybe play with some new graphics. So if you see me live tonight, I'm just going to be working on it's not a real show. I'm just going to be working on things. But anyway, hope you all have a beautiful day. Until next time, peace. Kidding. There we go. Peace.